The final moments of the warrior were not but valiant. Against the Inferno, he raged and spit and cursed. But then, in a moment, he was one with Oros. A deep breath he took, and with one righteous strike he slew the Inferno. The Book of Woe. I watched my death. I watched Arlen's hand twist and contort to summon the flames that blackened and stripped the flesh from my bones, my spotlessly clean white bones. Now, I float in nothingness, and I continue to watch. The scripture said that upon death, the spirit departs the body to join Oros's night guard. Where I am, there is no night guard, no Oros. Am I punished? What sin had I committed to be brought into this abyss? The scripture said abyss was emptiness, where sinners beg for his forgiveness. No scripture said the sinner would watch their death again and again. How many times have I seen my soldiers burn, my flesh peel away? I shut my eyes, replacing the vision of death with darkness, and clasped my palms over my ears to drown out the screams of my soldiers in arms. I desperately dream of my youth, of the bread from the market that mother brought home every week, of the weight of the boxes laden with trinkets and produce that we carried from cart to stall. My nose twitches. The aroma of freshly baked breads, like my mother's, filters through my head. I cautiously lower my guard, but the scene has changed. My childhood on display before me. I watch my family gather our barter to take to market. The cart trundle along, the guards posted at the entrance of the market whom I always smiled to, but who never smiled back. I had thought them serious when I was young. The guards I see here are nothing more than drunken sots, assigned to market duty because their commander knew they couldn't get themselves killed that way. It's obvious in their eyes and their actions. They lack all respect for their officers, so unlike the way my men looked at me. But how did they look at me? The thought burns into my mind, the light blurs in my eyes, and the scene changes again. It takes several minutes for my eyes and ears to adjust, but what are minutes in eternity? The new scene fades into view. A tame eye of Oros is perched above a stage where a military instructor gives a speech. I can remember what it was about. This was the graduation ceremony for officers. I was graduating top of the class. Time skips and flows around me, past the instructor's speech and straight to mine. My dress uniform was trimmed with 5 black tail feathers from an eye. A golden tassel hung across my neck and swung in front of my chest while I spoke. I had worn a plain tunic underneath the fancy dress. The tunic had been comfortable, the uniform less so. I do not need to listen to the speech because I gave it. It extolled the virtues of leadership and strength, complemented by psalms and scripture. It was a good speech. Several generals even complimented me and offered stations with them. Now, I watched the crowd watch me speak. From outside the scene, I scanned for him. I see him, first row, right next to my empty seat. Arlen. I never looked at him that day, nor any other day. All I did was hear his words. The platitudes and compliments he rained on his superiors, myself included, all lies. Even now, I cannot understand his motivation, but I do see his emotions. His face is a scornful scowl, his eyes ablaze with a hatred beyond my imagination. The scene shifted around his scowl, turning from the outdoor amphitheater to a quiet cloister, the place I made Arlen my second command, after my ascension to Cardinal. We had met over tea. I told him of his assignments to my battalion. As I informed him, a messenger interrupted. I turned away to consult the messenger, unable to see Arlen's face. I see it now. It is filled with rage, indignation, jealousy. I recognize how naive I was to trust him so blindly. My sight blurs and smears. The final shift of the scene. I am surrounded by foliage and soldiers. To my right is Arlen, his gaze shifting from side to side. In life, I had thought him nervous. He was, but not for the reasons the others were. This is my last penance, I thought. To relive my death, not merely watch it. With my body under my control once more, I took a few tentative steps and paused. My breast heaved a sigh, and I strode forward, not eager to feel the pain of death, but quite eager to confront Arlen. A breeze flowed past me. No, through me. I spun around to see Arlen grinning ear to ear. My hand flew to my back to grab my shield and quickly draw it in front of myself. I shouted a warning to my soldiers, but they never heard me. Arlen's flames had already scorched them, leaving nothing but pristine white bones inside cumbersome metal and leather. Arlen! My voice rang from behind my shield. A flick of my wrist brushed away the flames that looked at me. He turned to me and his face became a scowl I had not seen before this penance. A stern visage flashed onto my face and I strode forward. Arlen's scowl deepened in silent response. His hand twisted, a small inferno grew in his palm and was loosed at me. I knocked aside the flames. My pace quickened and soon I was running toward Arlen. A battle cry of scripture and conviction issued forth as I swung my fist into Arlen's head before he could react. He tumbled sideways, clutching his face and cursing wildly. I took a deep breath and addressed him. Arlen, you are the greatest ally I have ever had. Your skills as a warrior surpass perhaps even my own. I am sorry for however I have wronged you. Arlen steadied himself with a free arm. His face had an incredulous look about it. You are the only soldier I have trusted to do your duty, without question, every time you were asked. I continued, fist clenched in anger. However, the murder of my subordinates and our comrades is high treason, and it pains me to do so, but as per the laws of Aquini and Holy Oros, you are sentenced to summary execution. Anger was building once more in Arlen's face. Light emanated from his palm, and I knew what awaited me. I dropped my shield and accepted fate's decree. I smiled sadly and whispered a final blessing. I wish you a valiant post in his guard, my friend. My eyes were closed, but I could still see the inferno engulf my body, melting mail and flesh alike. This time, there was no pain. Third day of the Reap Moon, 1426. 2 weeks after the forges ignited. The sound of metal grating against stone rang out in a clearing. At the center, a circular structure rose out of the ground, plastered with glowing runes of unknown origin. Near one side of the structure, a pile of bones lay. The metallic sounds intensified and were soon followed by groaning and coughing. An imposing figure picked itself off the ground slowly and deliberately, careful not to tear its tabard with its chain mail. A shield was held in the figure's left hand, the right wrapped in an oversized gauntlet. The figure's shape was masculine, the colors of his dress those of a war cardinal. He breathed deeply, inhaling air as if it was his first breath out of the womb. The man looked about the strange scenery that surrounded him. His head fell downcast and a sigh issued from his nostrils. It was quickly followed by a chuckle, then laughter, then another full-bodied sigh. Another chance, he whispered to no one. I'll take it. The man turned on the heel of his boot due east, toward the far-off desert sands. His face fell into a scowl, and his voice followed. Even if I must exhume your corpse, I will bring you to justice, old friend.